Hello? Hello, hello. Yes, this is working. Right, okay. So now let's get back into the game. And stick drift is inevitable at this point. Always seems to be a bit of stick drift. But hey, at least I got my controller working. You know what? That was really annoying because it's an Xbox controller. I had a PlayStation. Well, I still have a PlayStation 4 controller, but unfortunately, the stick drift on that is atrocious. So yeah, I'm in this. Let's go drive. I also have a steering wheel, but I have to find its power supply, and I just can't be bothered to clear a space on my desk to mount the steering wheel on it, only to then unplug it again. So
Drive safe.
yeah, that seems to work. Okay. And do I have my trailer in the back? Yeah, I've got my trailer in the back, right. So space or hold down. Right. That's working. Good. So yeah, really frustrating thing. When is a USB hub not a USB hub? Oh, you know what? A wide screen really does seem... Okay. How do I enable windscreen wipers? Is it... That's a light. I think that's just reset. Right, if in doubt... Right, I'll put the parking brake on. It's all new to me, right? So I'm familiar with these controls. What was I going to say? This morning, I was doing the job and I was playing at my Steam Deck, and I thought, you know what? I want to carry it on. I want to carry it on by playing on the computer. See that the stick's drifting up again. I really hope I don't get that stick drift with the Steam Deck, because, well, that's going to be annoying. No, I can set it for economy, actually, can't I? Wait, let's get this out. Yeah, that's all fine. That's not needed. That's not needed. And I thought I'd just finish off the job in this because, well, I mean, I can play this in great fidelity. Also, the widescreen, behave. The widescreen of this really helps in seeing both mirrors at the same time. So wipers is P, but it's also right. So parking brake is do that, you hold it down, but also that does wipers. Yeah, not sure I like that. So what does the upper triggers do? Shift up and shift down, but yeah, shift. You know what? I've got my keyboard in front of me, so let's just use the keyboard for that stuff. Now, I think F3 hides the root advisor because I've got that built into my the actual lorry itself has got that 43 by 18. Is that right? Let me just get a calculator because I'm curious to know about that. See if that is correct. Right. So oh, you know what? Let's have a window capture. Because I thought I worked it out as 21 by 9. Oh, I get it. Right, okay. So yeah, you divide 18 by 2, you get 9. If you divide 43 by that, you get... What if it was 44? That'd be 22. So you get 21 and a half. So 21 by 9 is correct. But let's just try this out, right? So, oh yeah, you want to see the calculator. So I'll do calc. And then select a window to capture calculator, like so. Put it here. Right. So you can see what I'm doing. So 3440 divided by 43 equals 80, right? And then 1440 divided by 18 equals 80. 80 by 80. And that's a 1-to-1. Well, if I do 3440 divided by 21 is 163, yeah. And then 1440 divided by 9 equals 160. So hang on. 3440 divided by 21 is 163. So, right, yeah, that is correct. 43 by 18 is the more accurate ratio, because if you did 21, you see you get 163 and all that. That doesn't divide easily. But if I do 3440 divided by 43, 80. That is weird. So 43 will go into 3440 80 times. That's bizarre. I don't like odd numbers going in an even amount into something, but there you have it. So can I just close that? Right, let's get some stuff. Right, what else can we do? That's fine. Let's go to advanced settings. Hello, Alphabet Cat, and it is trucking today. Now, it's ready to test. Can we do more scaling? What if we have 150%? I think that would be good. Anti-aliasing. Some small pixels. Final pitch. Tier sample pitch 1% different location. Best results, you can select a combination of both the expense. Do a bit of both. Adaptive sharp, more flicker and less blur. The other one is less flicker and more blur. Well, adaptive clarity then, I'll let you do it. Texture quality is high, yeah, that's all fine. Oh, mirror quality, yeah, we'll go high. Mirror distance, custom, yeah. Shadow quality, yeah. Screen space ambient inclusion, high. Light fit, high. I mean, this game is like, it's not a new game, so that should be all fine, right? Yeah. So, no, it's not a test of the steering wheel. I'm using an Xbox controller, and that's why it has the stick drift going up, which I'm not happy about. So I barely use this thing. It's a test of Steam Cloud sharing. So I started it on the Steam Deck, and now I'm playing it on the computer to carry it on. So now if I go drive, now I did have F3. Right, that gets rid of that. So now, I've turned on the windscreen wipers, and now holding down the thing has done that too. How do I enable cruise control? I hope it's C. They show you speed limiters in this as well. But, yeah. God, that's terrible bumps.
Turn left.
Right, put the indicator on. I've got my side lights on. You know, something I learnt from lorry driving. In fact, the instructor told me, he says, "You're in a big lorry, just go for it. Other people are going to give way to you." So that's not in the highway code. You should not cause other people to have an avoidance action. You will fail an exam if you do that. But in real life, you can just push forward slowly and gently if it's safe to do so. And people will give way to you. In fact, there has been times when I've been annoyed on the road, and people, they do give way to me. Sorry, the other way round. There's been times I've been annoyed on the road because other people have caused me to have an avoidance action. Now look, if I do that, which is a very strange way of looking, because imagine you're sat diagonally on the chair, you can keep both mirrors in your view. Well, I say mirrors, these are LCD screens, but anyway, let's just have a look here. Let's slow it down. Right, let's keep that.
Exit now.
I keep on. Look. If I do that. Oh, and it's got a little. You're close to this thing advisory. I might have knocked over that signpost, but never mind. I'm only a Class 2 driver. I haven't got a Class 1 qualification, which includes the transport of trailers. And can you see the in the mirrors? Look, in fact, let me just slow down a bit, right? Let me show you this. Do you see the markers there? That is a marker to indicate that what I've got is a very wide load. And yes, I'm trying to demonstrate something to people, right? The markers there on the side indicate that I've got a very wide load, and it's to make other road users aware that it's a wide load, because they might not see it as a wide load. That's why you have to have those checkerboard markers to indicate to people what you in fact have is a wide load. Who's going to win when you need to back up? A car or a truck? Indeed. Yeah. So, look. I don't really want to discuss this, but I feel like it's an elephant in the room, and other people would be more eloquent about it than myself. But so here's the thing. But this is just, as you know, it's a small channel. I can see you and my friends, and the way I know you're my friends is you're quite happy whenever I do a video. You come in and you watch me playing, and we have a little bit of back and forth chatter, and I enjoy that. You know, that to me that is a parasocial relationship, and I benefit from it as well, because yeah, I play games on my own, but it is nice to be able to sort of have you there in a sort of semi-passive state, because you know it's only me talking. Although there did used to be a time when we'd have others talking, but unfortunately that time's passed now. Shame, really. I do ask people, you know, hey, do you want to do this? Do you want to like sort of do a voice chat whilst I'm playing a game? And they say, oh well, not really, because you're not allowed to say anything anymore. It's like, yeah, well, pretend you're in the pub, but you've invited your mother's over. And it's like, yeah, that's the problem. If you have your mum over at the pub, you have to behave yourself, and it's not really it's not really good. But anyway, I'm procrastinating on talking about this issue. I'm trying to preface to say this, like, look, this is a small channel, and you're my friends, and it's really just a case of we hang out and we chat and just have a good time, really. That I'm hoping in some small way I can be entertaining for you, because let's face it, entertainment these days is not very good, so you gotta amuse yourself. And
Turn right.
I enjoy this, and if I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't do it. Now, there is some changes, and I'm going to say it's changes to the Internet Terms of Service, and I get a feeling that governments and so apparently the button which does left indicator is also the button that turns off the engine. Nice feature. Great feature. Anyway, the Internet Terms of Services are changing, and it's going to be a problem reaction solution. So the problem is, online safety. Solution, you need to face docs to prove that you are, you know, not a child, so you can access the internet. And the other reaction to this solution is like, well, I'm going to use an AI generated face, or I'm going to use a character creator in a game, or you know, there will be numerous solutions people use to make a counterfeit face. And then the problem reaction solution, the government solution to this would be like, well, we can't have people counterfeiting their face, so what we're going to need to do is introduce a digital ID, which people like Tony Blair and his ilk have been champing at the bit for decades now. They want us to have a digital ID, and of course it'll be tied into our bank
At the
accounts.
roundabout, take the
So
second exit.
if you do something which causes negative social credit, you won't be able to access your funds in your bank, and you'll have to explain to your bank why you're trying to make a transfer of more than £800. And yes, I know that the naysayers will be like, well, if you're trying to transfer more than £800 out of your bank account, it's just like a fraud thing or a scammer thing, and it should be a thing of like saying, look, don't give your money to scammers, so it's for your own safety. Much like the online safety bill, it's for your own safety. And I get a feeling like we're being railroaded, corralled into something we don't need. Now, maybe it's just I'm an old stick in the mud, right? But I was always told on the internet,
The roundabout.
you never share your this is something that dates back to like the mid-90s. You never share your real life information. You don't know who the strangers are. They might be some sort of weirdo. I'm trying to turn the indicator off. You never share real life information on. And then there was this whole generation that grew up with like MySpace and Facebook, and they would just be like, right, here's where I live, this is my real like legal name, and this is when I'm going to be on holiday. And then nefarious agents like burglars really love this information. It's like, oh, you're on holiday, are you? And there's pictures of you on your holiday snaps, and so you're not going to be at home for a while. All right, I'll come pay a visit to your home, and I know you've got nice valuable things because you've posted pictures of it on Facebook, all the nice valuable things you got in your home. So I'll just be helping myself to that. Right, let's get myself up to speed, and hopefully the button for cruise control is just C. So, right, there we go. And yeah, I just saw something coming up and it says 90, so that's my cruise control. So, we've now got a generation of people who are willing to share any intimate moment on the internet, including when they've just had a poo, and really sharing too much information. And it's at odds with, dare I say, the first generation of it. Well, the first generation of internet users in the 80s. They were the ones that made the World Wide Web. But they were the ones who sort of laid the rules, and you like the idea of like, look, you know, by all means discuss with strangers like what interests, because that's a great thing on the internet, but just don't share your personal details. And I've always thought it was a very good rule that your internet life is separate from your real life, and it should be seen as like a third space, as it were. You know, it's not real. It's not the real world. It's just, yeah, you're real. Other people on it are real, but it's not something that should be done at the. Oh, I need to
Keep
be.
left.
I need to change those. It's your real world and your. I need to concentrate at this junction because, you know, I've got a top-heavy load here. So anyway, your real world life and your internet life should be two separate things. And yeah, I do e-commerce like everybody else, because I mean these things don't just go into a shop and buy them. You do them through an online catalogue, and then you put your legal name and your name and address in it, and you have your bank card put in there as well. So yeah, all of these things are separate, but my internet social life is separate to my real world life. And that's not to say, you know, if we're like, you know, if you're going to a pub somewhere and be like, oh, I recognise your voice, are you Hobbit? And it'd be like, who are you then? I don't know you. And then, you know, and someone would say, I'm Alphabet Cat, I'm definitely not someone who works at GCHQ. We should hang out and do credible threats of violence towards the government. Not saying you do that, Alphabet Cat, but I'm saying, you know, if there was some sort of imposter that came through and be like, yeah, I'm definitely one of your internet friends and we should do stuff like that. Suffice to say, what am I trying to get upon this? Like, both you and Interdimensional Lizard, if we were in a pub and you were the real deal, I'd be like, yeah, let's have a drink together, and I'd be friendly. But here's the other side of that. I don't actually want to meet people on the internet in real life because it sort of dispels the illusion. Does that make sense? And I think I can summarise this as the real world and the social and the internet world. The two should not be intertwined. And lately there's this big push, and I always thought, oh, it'll never happen, you know, it always gets shut down. But now there's this big push, and of coincidence, it's happening all over in the Western world. You know, Australia's doing this thing saying, if you're under 16, you've got to prove, you've got to prove that you're old enough to be on the internet. You've got to face docs. In the UK, there's the online safety bill, and Europe and America have got the online safety bill, but they've changed it a bit so teacher won't notice you've copied my homework. And I'm sure Canada and New Zealand will follow, but I think because of their irrelevance, they'll sort of play catch up. But the fact is, you can't just implement it in one country. Let's say the UK, I mean, as significant as it is or was, it's not as significant these days. And I think if they were trying to do these things, like various companies like Twitter and Google would just say, well, we're not doing business, we're going to withdraw our services from the UK. And then there'll be an uproar because people are like, what do you mean I can't use YouTube and I can't use Twitter and I can't do a Google search without, you know, because they've withdrawn the services. And there'd be an uproar. They'd just like, it'd be like saying, oh, Tesco, you've got to ask people, like when they come into the door, if they're willing to pledge their firstborn son to Molech, and people just be like, well, Tesco would be like, well, we're going to withdraw services. Well, the problem is then, you see, let's say Tesco, in this example, were asked to do something, and they'd say, well, withdraw services. The problem is there's competition, so the competition took over. So let's just say that the UK government said, look, before people buy bread, butter or beer, they've got to do this onerous step. They've got to show proof of vaccination before they can come into your shop. And they said, well, we're going to withdraw services. And there'll be an uproar because people will be like, well, how do I get food then? But now we've got on the internet a very similar situation where rather than withdraw services, it seems in a coordinated effort across the Western world. I mean, China and India are their own separate cases, and they're not pertinent to this discussion at the moment. There is a coordinated effort across all these countries to implement at the same time the same policy, and I don't really know what the future entails really. So there may come a time in the future where I'm not able to do this, and I'll miss that time because, like I said, I enjoy chatting to you, Interdimensional and Alphabet Cat. I enjoy talking to the other people who occasionally pop in. I mean, it was nice when playing Unreal Tournament that I'd get a few people popping in, and I would like to play Unreal Tournament for this game, but oh, it's adaptive cruise control. That's why. Yeah. So do you see like an Can I zoom in on that? See, my speed's set to 89, right? But I didn't press on the brakes. But yeah, adaptive cruise control. That's nice. I wouldn't be able to form this speech if I was doing Unreal Tournament because I'd just be concentrating too much, or I'd just stand in the corner and, you know, not care about the game to do it. Whereas with driving, I find it helps my thoughts. So, as I was saying, there may come a time in the future where I'm not able to do this and other people are not able to do this because I think there will be a thing of, withdrawing, and I'm hoping there will be a parallel economy. I'm hoping there will be an internet which will root around the damage, because that was the whole point of the internet, right? The whole point of the internet was we need a system of communication which can be resilient to nuclear war with the Soviet Union, and we need to devise a system where a network can be resilient, and if there's any damage to one node, it won't bring down the entire network. It'll be able to route around it. And people have said, yeah, that adaptive cruise control is useful. People have said, well, you know, if there's any censorship on the internet, it will just be seen as cruise control. Can I go in here? It looks like I'm going to go here, so I'm going to have to pay it manually. So people have all said, oh, well, look, you know, the censorship of the internet is just seen as damage to the network and you route around it. And more or less that's the case, but what do you do when the entire internet is censored? I mean, I doubt it will happen because he's not our friend, but Elon Musk's Starlink system could make a parallel internet. It's got the ability to do so. And in which case you could use a Starlink to go up there and route around the internet, which would be censored. Sir Tim Berners-Lee, he's working on an alternative to the internet, which he wants it to be decentralised because he's seen the problem with the centralisation of the internet. I mean, look, I don't know about you, but I would say 90% of my time, if not more, is spent on two websites. YouTube and Twitter, and I don't know how it happened. I don't know. I'm not pleased about the situation, but I've been noticing, like, the past 15 years, more and more of my time is spent on those two sites and nothing else, and it concerns me because, you know, Twitter and YouTube are very large sites, very much work hand to hand with the government, and they've gone from places where you could speak your mind and it was just, you know, a casual thing. Certainly YouTube, like the 2007 era was. And look, I can smell my bolognese cooking, so I got. Can I? Right. I just got to be right back and stir the pot. I'll be right back, right? But yeah, think about what I've said. just a second. Got to sit down. Amazing, absolutely amazing, right? Excuse me. The oven, the cooker, is the other side of the house, and through multiple closed doors, I smelled the cooking, and it was just in time as well because there was bits which were just starting to stick to the bottom of the pan. So I gave it a stir until everything was lifted, and I've taken off the heat now because it's cooked. Anyway, we're not too far from the end destination. That's good. Is it H for hazards? Please be H for hazards. No, H is hot, so... Right, there we go. And, yep, that's fine. The cruise control's on.
Please mind the speed.
Ah, we're going through Lyon, that's why, yeah. I'm familiar with this section of road in real life. So yeah, really, I don't know what the future entails. I don't know if we'll be able to fight back against it. I find it very concerning how quickly things are going, and I think it's like governments around the world, they got a real taste of power with the pandemic lockdowns, and they're like, oh, wouldn't it be nice to flex that power again? And people do petitions. I didn't sign it because, well, by the time it got addressed, it was near 500,000 signatures, and the government said, the petition was, yeah, can you not do this? Can you not do this thing which we didn't vote for and didn't ask for? And the government's response was, no. Basically, the government says, can I just stop a second, right? Yeah. I need you to take a moment to appreciate this. This is the actual layout of Lyon. It's strange. It's like, most of these cities I'm not familiar with. Maybe I'll drive into Bristol and show you about, but I am very familiar with this section of road, and it staggers me how faithfully it's recreated, because it's all quite compressed in the game. I think I figured out the ratio of real life to Euro Truck World as 15:1. Let's just make sure down there. Oh yeah. Can I, if I press the num plus, does that increase the speed? No. What about that? No, that just does that. Okay. Yeah. Right, very, very strange. Very strange. So yeah, look, I don't know. You know, maybe you just got on in the background and you're off doing other things, but like, you know, I'd like a bit of reassurance, like there it won't be that bad, but I think it's quite bad. The governments around the world are already at the point where, like, yeah, we're going to do this thing, and thinking they can get away with it. I mean, I thought it was bad enough with the poll tax riots. I thought, like, oh look, the government would never overstep its breach again, but then we had the COVID lockdowns, and they were like, yeah, we're going to overstep our bounds, we're going to be far worse than the poll tax, and now there's not even a pretense of, oh, it's for your safety. I mean, look, I know they call it the online safety bill, but it's not about any of that stuff. And it coincides with, it's not as big of an issue, but it coincides with certain games being delisted from online platforms like Steam others because payment processors, MasterCard and Visa, are like, well, this small irrelevant feminist group which we're going to use as the scapegoat, which funny enough was the same thing with Prohibition, because if you look there, the temperance movement was just a bunch of proto-feminists saying that, oh, well, we think alcohol is bad, and then suddenly the US government was like, yeah, we agree, we think alcohol is bad, and it's entirely these women's fault why we're not going to have alcohol anymore, it's going to be banned because of these women. So a similar bunch of cunty Karens in Australia, they were like, well, we don't like that people play games with things we disagree about in it, and we want Visa and MasterCard to stop processing payments for Steam and other platforms that allows gamers to play games we disagree with. And it seems like they've bent the knee. And I mean, at least in Japan they're fighting back against it, because they're saying, no, you're a payment processor, you're being entirely hypocritical, because it's not stopping people from buying pornography, by the way. Visa and MasterCard are quite happy to process payments from OnlyFans and other pornography websites. I hope it doesn't go against the terms of service to talk about such things. Probably not. People review all sorts of pornography related items on YouTube these days, and it's not as if I'm being sexually explicit. So the fact is, the payment processors have no problem accepting doing payments for pornography websites, but somehow they do object to adult content games, and I think they're using it as the thin end of the wedge, because they're going to like, oh, what are you some sort of pervert? You know, why would you defend this? Surely this is a good idea. And I'm sure people use the same sort of arguments with alcohol prohibition as well. They're like, oh, what are you, some sort of booze hound? Were you some sort of alcoholic? You know, surely you think a bit of temperaments is good. So that's the problem with prohibition. It wasn't a bit of temperaments. It wasn't a bit of like, you know, have a couple of beers and a glass of wine over the weekend. It was like, no alcohol ever. Unless you go to the doctor and say, well, I'm an alcoholic, and the doctor goes, yeah, well, here's a prescription for some, you know, for some surgical spirit. You know, here's a prescription for 100% ethanol by volume with no water or other flavourings in it whatsoever. That was a weird situation. So anyway, what are you guys saying? Let me just wait for a straight bit of road, and I'll try and read what you guys are saying. The payment processors have been making a push for age verification for porn sites, and now they're targeting Steam too. There must be some large motive behind both, yes. I find it's very interesting, the timing, especially considering the online safety bill. I thought it was an internal conflict among those who run both finance and porn, but that doesn't explain what they've done to Steam. And it doesn't explain all this. It's a coordinated push on all fronts, and I think the solution is going to be digital ID. I mean, I was very upset on eBay when I wanted to buy a hedge trimmer, and they're like, well, a hedge trimmer is a bladed article and you need proof of age. And I'm like, okay, that's alright, you can have my driver's license. I'll submit a photograph of my driver's license to eBay to prove that I'm an adult, even though I've had my eBay account since 2005. So does that not count? I had my original YouTube account, I had that since 2006, by the way. I was one of the original YouTubers, and they, you know, I did one spicy meme too many, and they're like, no, we've removed your channel. Oh, okay. But yeah, people have mentioned it, and I thought, oh, you know what, I really hope they expand out, because that could be like a good alternative to all this stuff. Is JCB. You heard of JCB? Not the digger company. JCB, Japan Credit Bureau, and that is an alternative payment processor to Visa and MasterCard. and I'm hoping that it's not just a Japanese domestic market only. I'm hoping that there will be branches in throughout the world, so that I, in addition to my MasterCard, will be able to have a JCB card for doing payments, and because it seems to me, strange to say it, JCB more liberal and more neutral than either Visa or MasterCard. What a bizarre situation we're in, where
Please mind the speed.
payment processors are so-called arbitrators of morality, and it's like, it's like the myth of consent. I consent, said the customer. I consent, said the merchant. Oh, isn't there someone you forgot to ask about this because I don't consent, said the payment processor. It's like, well, look, you exist as a means to an end, right? You exist as a facilitator. I have funds. I'm going to give the funds to the merchant one way or another, and the merchant is going to give me my goods and services. You are a middleman, and you are only as useful and as long as you do that. And that's the problem, you see. If Visa said, oh,
Keep left.
we're gonna withhold payments, and MasterCard would be like, yeah, we don't care about that. We'll take your business on. Thanks, Visa, for giving us all these customers, or vice versa. Then, you know, different situation. But both Visa and MasterCard at the same time, I got the feeling there was a Bilderberg meeting, and, well, whilst I don't know what the minutes of that are, I get a feeling that the minutes of that meeting was, let's do a coordinated push just to make sure everybody wants real ID, because they'll be clamouring for a solution for this and saying, well, look, we want our porn, we want our comforts, we want this, we want that, and then they'll be like, wow, we got a solution for you. It's called a government-backed digital ID, and it'll be tied to your national insurance number, which is your social security number, or your EID in Europe, and it will be your full legal name, and we'll have a little device on your laptop or your phone which will take a little prick of blood each time you go on the internet, and then just to sort of verify you're not handing your phone or your laptop to somebody who's not you, we'll have like a real-time usage of your camera,
Ready to turn right.
just to make sure it's always you that's using it. And if there's somebody else there in the room with you, we'll say, well, look, it's all well and good for you to watch Netflix and what have you, but you've got somebody else there, so we're going to charge you extra to your account because 2 people are watching it, not
Get
just
ready
one.
to turn left.
And oh, is
Turn
that a
left.
child in the room? Well, you can't watch this this thing. And they'll use the thing of saying, oh well, it's for the children, but then if somebody says something slightly controversial that the government disagrees with, like, oh, here's an example, and I'm just using YouTube, this is just an example, this is not a position which I condone, but let's say I'm an unhinged conspiracy theorist, right, and I was to say something like, they're spraying the skies to keep the sunlight away, to make us all sick and unwell, and to make the crops sick and unwell, so our farmers can't compete with farmers in other ways. Just an unhinged conspiracy theory, not based in truthful facts of any way, or the strange stories we hear from the UK government, the Spanish Meteorological Office, or that weird stuff where they flooded the desert in Dubai and Saudi Arabia because they did a bit too much cloud seeding. So it's just an unhinged conspiracy. But let's just say us to say that. And let's say the government said, well, we don't like you talking about this, so we're going to say that was an unsanctioned opinion, and therefore it's going to be banned, and you, the uploader of this unsanctioned opinion, well, we see your national insurance number as da-da-da, and you reside at this address, so you're going to have a knock on the door at 4 in the morning from a bunch of officials wearing high-vis jackets saying, why did you oppose that opinion, Mr. Hobbit? Well, this is for your online safety. We don't think you should be expressing such unhinged conspiracy theories. And also, we've got some mental health professionals here, and they're going to conduct an assessment, which is a foregone conclusion, to say that you're mentally unwell and you're now a ward to the state, and we are going to, for your own safety, take you away and have some psychiatrists prescribe you some drugs, and we'll put you into a secure mental facility for your health. And now one might say, oh look, you've just read a bit too much about the history of communism, where they invented the term oppositional defiance disorder, where if you disagreed with the state, it's not that you're a political dissident, it's that you're mentally unwell and you had to go to an asylum for the mentally unwell. See? It's just a weird coincidence theory, that's all. So, I gotta say, the changes to the internet's terms of service, which I did not agree to at any point, are cause of concern. But anyway, do you ever see that episode 7 fan sci-fi show The Orville? Oh yeah, I like The Orville, where they land on the planet with social credit score. I haven't seen that one, no. I kind of like the one where the 75% different Klingons, and therefore legally distinct, find out humans have got these things called cigarettes, and they use the replicator to give themselves loads and loads of cigarettes. I like that one. But there was an episode of Black Mirror where they had what did they have? They had yeah, there was an episode of Black Mirror where everyone's got a social credit score, and there was this woman who said a rude thing, and eventually she finds she's become a political dissident, and she was trying to get to like some place, and she wasn't allowed because your social credit score is too low to rent any of these vehicles. Oh, and that was the other thing, like she got a vehicle, but because the social credit score was too low, and it's an electric vehicle, it just stopped working because it had an internet connection, and the internet connection said, oh, your social credit score is too low to use this transport vehicle. Oh, and that's the other thing as well, you're not going to own anything, so you have to just like rent an electric car, and you try and charge it up, and it's like, well, your social credit's too low because, you know, you weren't very nice to that barista in the cafe, so he downvoted you. Yeah. Makes me wonder. I mean, other people say this, and it gives me hope. Makes me wonder, right? Maybe they're desperate for something. It's like they're working to some sort of deadline, and they're like, oh dear, things aren't working as quickly as we'd like them to. Maybe we ought to speed things along? I don't know. Maybe I'm just being paranoid. Or maybe it's all true. But, yeah. Look, if there's any of these videos that should interest you, I thought the one I did about AI years ago was quite good. Now's probably a good time to download it. But at which point I'll just say, look, thanks for the memories, and it was nice knowing you guys, and I hope I can do this again sometime in the future, but I have my doubts. I do have my doubts. A happy note. Seek God,